Hi friends, welcome to Creative DIY Purpose. Today, I'm going to be taking some of the thrifted finds from last week's video and giving them a fresh new makeover. And the rest of the items not in today's video will be upcycled in my next video. And that bonus video will air this Thursday. So make sure you're subscribed and the bell is turned to all notifications. We've got a lot to do today, so come on, let's get started. First project is this silver plated tray. I applied 2 coats of the Rust-Oleum spray paint. I went on to Canva PRO, which I have linked below for you. And I found this beautiful pattern on there. And I printed it out using an inkjet printer. And I printed it on rice paper. I'm going to cut a hole in the center. And I will be applying Mod Podge onto the center part of the tray. And that way the rice paper will adhere to it. To make sure that I had it even, I just made a crease in the paper, removed it, folded the edges over, and then cut them. And for the most part, that worked. After the Mod Podge has fully dried, I will apply a sealer over the entire piece to protect it for future use. All right, so you probably remember this little spice rack in last week's video. I wanted to keep it the natural wood, but once I started sanding it down, the wood had a lot of flaws and discoloration. That's okay. So I did the best that I could, and we went with Plan B, applied 2 coats of the 2-in-1 Rust-Oleum spray paint, and used some of the Rose Toile stamps from IOD. I want to lighten up the stamp a little bit more, so I'm going to take some pretty beat up old fine grit sandpaper. I did have a little double imaging up at the top, so it's just going to see if the sandpaper will give it a softer look and fix that the double imaging there. I was rushing and wasn't paying attention, so it happens. All right, so I found some empties. I think they're bagel everything seasoning bottles, but I thought they were perfect. They're square, and I think I got 5 to fit on the top, and it could actually fit another one as soon as we empty another jar. On the bottom, I used votive candle holders that I got at a yard sale last year, because down there we're gonna sprout seeds, and under the damp paper towel we have apple seeds that are sprouting really well. So I had these coasters in my stash. I applied 2 coats of the Rust-Oleum 2-in-1 white matte spray paint. And I took the designs that I made on the tags and printed it out on rice paper and did a transparent image, because I want to make what will look like a vintage ink stamp. And on my blog, I have the 8 images if you wanted to try this or wanted them for another project. And I have them available 2 different ways for you, in just the shades of blue reverse images with a transparent background, and then just a regular image with the white background and all the different shades of blue. For the freezer paper transfers, you want to print on the shiny side. You can either cut the freezer paper, which I do have linked below, the one that I use, and run it through your printer that way, or tape it onto cardstock before you send it through your printer. I use a basic inkjet printer from HP. If you would like me to make a video tutorial on the freezer paper transfer method, just comment below and I can definitely put one together for you. If you'd like to see another project where I made a vintage inspired sign using freezer paper, be sure to stay with me to the end of this video. I absolutely love this white basket. It is so sturdy, but I wanted to dry brush on some of the mineral chalk paint by Waverly just around the handles and the top and bottom edges. My hydrangeas fit perfectly in here, and they're probably going to have to stay in the house for another month since it snowed last week, but I just wanted to soften it up a little bit. Something like this, so simple, so subtle, but I think it makes a difference. So I took 1 ply of paper towel and taped it on to a piece of cardstock, pulled up my image that I designed on canvapro.com, printed it out onto the 1 ply paper towel using an inkjet printer. Then I applied Mod Podge, and I love the translucent look that it gave this jar. And right now I'm just going to take 1 ply of the paper towel and Mod Podge it over the back. I think these would be beautiful with some battery operated candles on a deck or patio this summer. So if you want to print an image and you don't have any tissue paper or erase paper, you can grab 1 ply of paper towel. It turns out with a really nice texture, but if there's any like embossed design on your paper towel, when you Mod Podge it on there and flat and smooth it out, that design does become flat, but then you're left with the really cool texture from the paper towel itself. All right, so our next project is the faux vintage washboard. I applied 1 coat of gesso primer to the top because I want to add something different on here. I purchased a little wicker basket that had this metal bar that was screwed into the top, but I had to remove that, turn the metal bar upside down because the hooks wouldn't allow the basket to sit flush on to the washboard. So I'm going to use some E6000, apply some to the top and bottom of the basket to adhere it onto the washboard, and drill holes in to put the screws into the washboard. Graphicsfairy.com. I added these 2 bird images just to add a little more to it. And I found the birds and put the image together on Canva.com. Their pro version has a lot of different options, like thousands of different graphics. And I posted my link below if you wanted to check that out. So I did print the image out onto rice paper on the rough side. So I do make a mistake here. I applied the image on with Mod Podge, but the gesso wasn't dried and I used a lot of Mod Podge. So the stain from the wood ended up coming through, but I think it worked out really well because it gave it a really nice aged look. So I did end up leaving it like that. You'll have to let me know what you think. I need to add some brackets to the back so that this piece can hang on the wall. Now we're on to the gold painted little dish, which did not come out anything like I had originally planned, but I was happy with the end result. I mixed chalk paint in with a little bit of acrylic cobalt blue paint, painted it on, and it started to apply white wax, and it was still too much, too blue, too plain. So I wiped off the white wax, applied 2 coats of the 2-in-1 Rust-Oleum paint. Again, went back to Canva.com, found this beautiful blue and white pattern, printed it on to the rough side of rice paper using a basic inkjet printer. And now I'm just Mod Podging on a small piece of it on just to add some design. So the next step happened by accident. There was a paint bristle that was stuck down underneath the paint. When I went to remove it, I chipped off some of the white paint and exposed some of the blue underneath it, and I loved it, just went with it. So here I have a crumpled up piece of fine grit sandpaper going along the edges. I wanted to be careful because I really didn't want to expose any of the metal underneath it. Had that been my original plan, I would have sprayed the blue with sealer before applying the white, but I think that it turned out. Does that ever happen to you guys when you're doing a project, you're thinking it's going to go one way and then ends up going in a different direction? So these tags are available over on my blog for you to print out for free. And I also have a black and gray version of them. If you scroll down to the bottom of that blog post, you will find the squares that I used earlier as the vintage ad along with the birds. Friends, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to meet me back here on Thursday for this month's bonus video. And have a super blessed week.